Right, so get this. Today, we're going to dive into ancient Egypt.
Ooh, sounds interesting.
But then, get this, we're going even further out
Further.
into the cosmos. We're looking at Kemetic spirituality, Andy, how it connects to this thing called the Law of One. You even gave me some channeled text in the sources.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, color me intrigued.
It's a fascinating juxtaposition to have this chance to, look at a belief system that's literally thousands of years old,
Right.
and then kind of see it through this more modern, I guess, lens
Yeah.
with the Law of One. So I think this will give us some really interesting perspectives on, how spiritual ideas even change over time,
Totally.
and also what this ancient wisdom might still have to offer us today.
For sure, for sure. Okay, well, let's dive in. So one of the sources, like right off the bat, tackles a pretty controversial topic,
Go.
which is, were the ancient Egyptians black?
Mm.
And it gets into this whole thing about how, humans can be traced back to this one African woman 200,000 years ago. And so the argument goes, well, then the ancient Egyptians, being from Africa, must have also been black.
Interesting. Well, and I think it's important to consider the historical context here because there has been a definite effort to separate ancient Egypt from the rest of Africa. This narrative that it was this racially diverse civilization where Black people were just slaves,
Right, right.
And so this source really, really pushes back on that.
Totally. And here's something that I really wasn't expecting at all.
What's that?
So the same source that's talking about that links ancient Egypt, or Kemet, to like the very beginnings of libraries and information science.
Oh, wow. How?
Apparently, the Egyptian language with the hieroglyphs and all that is considered like the oldest written language.
Really?
And they even had these like specialized librarians, and their titles, get this, they were called custodians of the unlimited knowledge.
I love it.
How cool is that?
That's so cool. It
Well,
really
yeah.
makes you think about, like, how much did ancient Egyptian knowledge systems, affect our modern ones?
Yeah.
Because the source goes on to even talk about some similarities between the Kemetic mystery system and our modern Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah.
And it's like, it could be a coincidence, but,
It makes you wonder.
it makes you wonder.
It does, it does. Okay, so I think we need to take a step back for a second and just get clear on, like, what Kemetic spirituality?
Yeah, good point.
Because you're talking about this belief system that's thousands of years old.
Mm.
So another source kind of lays it out and describes it as this modern term to refer to this ancient Egyptian religion,
Okay.
which is called Shitat Neter.
Okay.
And it's all about this concept of Neter, which is like the supreme being, the ultimate source, the thing that everything else comes from.
Right, right.
And then there's the Netaru, which are all the gods and goddesses.
Okay, yeah. And that idea, the nadir as the source of everything, really connects to one of the core principles of the Law of One, which is this idea that everything is connected.
Yes, yes. Okay, so let's talk Law of One for a second. So one source describes it as channeled information from this entity called Ra, who claims to be from a sixth-density civilization.
Wow.
I know, it's a lot. And according to Ra, the Law of One basically says all things are one, all beings are one.
That's pretty profound when you really think about it. I mean, it does resonate with that Kemetic understanding of nadir.
Right.
The Law of One gives this framework, I guess, or a structure for thinking about spiritual evolution. And it really focuses on the idea of service to others, reincarnation, and this concept of a harvest, which is basically moving to higher levels of consciousness.
Yeah, and get this, Ra also claims that there were these beings on Earth called wanderers.
The wanderers.
Yeah, and they were from these higher densities, these higher levels of consciousness.
Wow.
And they decided to, like, incarnate here on Earth to help raise the consciousness of the planet.
It's a really intriguing idea, isn't it? Like, imagine these beings from these realms that we can't even comprehend
I know.
choosing to experience life here in our third density reality.
Right, right. But hold on. It gets even wilder because Ra says that some of these wanderers, they came from Mars.
Mars.
I know. And apparently Mars used to be habitable, but something happened.
Ew.
And it became, like, impossible to live there. So its inhabitants had to be transferred to Earth.
Okay, well, now this is all very fascinating stuff, but it's important to keep in mind what the raw material calls the law of confusion,
What's that?
Basically, it says that we should use discernment and really rely on our own inner knowing when we're thinking about all of this information. It's detailed, it's complex, but it's really up to us to decide what resonates and what doesn't.
Okay, so we've gone from ancient Egypt to Mars in, like, what, 5 minutes? What's jumping out at you so far?
Honestly, what's hitting me is how both Kemetic spirituality and the Law of One, even though they came from such different places and times,
Right.
they seem to be pointing at these same basic truths about how everything's connected.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think it'd be fascinating to explore those connections even more, don't you?
for sure. So let's maybe unpack some of the specifics of Kemetic spirituality a bit more. We talked about Nader as the supreme being.
Right.
But what about the Neteru, all those gods and goddesses? Like, what's their deal?
So think of the Neteru, like almost as aspects of Neter,
Right.
different facets of this diamond.
Okay.
They kind of embody these forces, these principles that are working in the universe.
So it's not like other religions where you have, all these separate gods with their own personalities and agendas and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh,
It's not about that separation.
okay.
In Kemetic spirituality, the Neteru are expressions of that one divine source, that
Mhm.
ultimate unity that we were talking about earlier.
Okay, that makes sense. One of the sources even mentions that we can see these Neteru as like principles or functions within ourselves.
Oh, interesting.
Like it talks about Mallet, which is like truth, justice, balance, cosmic order, all of that.
Right.
But it's not just like this outside force. It's something that we can actually cultivate within ourselves.
That's a really crucial point, I think. Kemetic spirituality is all about kind of aligning ourselves with these universal principles
Okay.
and making them a part of our thoughts, our words, or actions.
So it's about living in harmony with Ma, so to speak.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Like, are there specific practices that are involved?
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
And the sources mention a few, like the Kemetic yoga of action.
Kemetic yoga of action. What's that?
It's all about aligning your actions with the principles of Mott,
Okay.
bringing those concepts into your daily life.
So kind of like how the law of one emphasizes service to others.
Yeah, totally.
It's like both systems are saying, hey, don't just think about this stuff, live it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that connection. And there's another practice. It's called Sema Tawi, which is it means union with the divine.
Okay.
Sometimes it's called Egyptian yoga.
Interesting.
It's about using postures, breath work, meditation, all of those things to find inner harmony and to connect with that divine source.
So Kemetic spirituality is definitely about more than just beliefs.
Right.
It's about like actively working towards this state of harmony.
Totally.
Okay, so let's go back to the law of one for a minute.
Okay.
We talked about this unity, this interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah.
But it also goes into like the nature of consciousness and how souls evolve.
Right.
Can you like break that down a little bit?
Yeah. So the law of one basically describes this universe with all these different densities of consciousness.
Okay.
So think of it like levels,
Hmm.
Each one has a specific vibration and there's specific lessons that need to be learned at each level.
Okay.
We as humans right now are in the third density.
Okay.
And here's the interesting part. According to Ra, we're at this point where we choose our polarity.
Choose our polarity. What does that even mean?
It means we're choosing between service to others
Okay.
or service to self.
Oh, so like a cosmic choose your own adventure kind of thing.
I love that. Yeah.
Okay. And so like what happens after we make that choice?
Well, that choice determines what happens after we, transition from this physical life.
Okay.
Those who choose serving others will eventually graduate, so to speak,
Okay.
to the fourth density,
Right.
which is this realm of love and understanding. Those who choose service to self move to a different fourth density,
Oh, interesting.
where they continue to learn about self-gratification.
So this harvest thing, it sounds pretty intense. But let's go back to these wanderers for a second.
Okay.
We know that they're from these higher densities.
Right.
They chose to come here.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, like what's their mission? What are they here to do?
Well, they're here to help raise consciousness,
Okay.
to act as a kind of beacon of light.
Okay.
But here's the thing. They might not even consciously be aware of their mission.
Oh, interesting.
Just their presence helps to raise the overall vibration of the planet,
Okay.
and it offers guidance and support for those who are looking for that path of service to others.
That's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is.
It's like this cosmic chess game is going on, and we're not even aware of all the players.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
And speaking of all the players, the raw material also talks about this group called the Orion group.
Hold on. The Orion group Like the constellation Orion.
Yes, exactly. So according to Ra, this is a negatively polarized civilization. So
Okay.
their whole thing is manipulation and control of resources.
So like the opposite of the Confederation of Planets, which Ra is a part of.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's pretty stark contrast.
Yeah.
It sounds like this information's really like pushing us to rethink how we even think about the universe.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so the Law of One talks about these different densities.
Right.
But what about time? Like, does it view time the same way that we do?
Not quite. Ra describes this universe where past, present, and future are all interconnected,
Okay.
which kind of suggests that this linear way that we experience time might actually be an illusion. Whoa. Okay, that's a big one to wrap my head around.
It is.
I mean, what does that even mean for us here in our everyday lives?
Well, it might mean that we actually have more agency than we realize,
Okay.
that the choices we make right now could actually influence both our past and our future.
Okay, that's both really empowering and kind of terrifying at the same time.
It is.
Okay, this law of one stuff, it's deep.
It is.
But let's bring it back down to earth for a minute.
Okay.
You mentioned that there are specific practices in Kemetic spirituality.
Right.
And we talked about the Kemetic yoga of action and Sema Tawi.
Right.
But are there others?
Yeah, there are actually many, many others.
Okay.
But one that's particularly interesting, especially in light of the Law of One, is the Duat.
The Duat. Okay, what's that?
It's often described as the underworld.
Okay.
And like this realm that souls journey through after death.
So like the ancient Egyptian version of heaven or hell?
Not quite.
Oh.
It's not really about punishment or reward. It's more about transformation.
Okay.
The soul goes through this process of, purification
Okay.
and kind of preparation for its next incarnation.
So it's more like a way station, like a place of learning and growth.
Exactly.
And that actually connects to the law of one's concept of time-space,
Right.
which we were just talking about.
Exactly.
Which describes as this realm that exists outside of our linear understanding of time and space.
Yeah.
It's where souls experience a different kind of reality, going through this process of reviewing and integrating their past life experiences.
Right. Exactly.
This is so mind-blowing. It really makes you think about, like, the nature of reality and what happens after we die.
It does.
But it also makes me wonder, like, what's the point of all this?
Yeah.
If we just keep reincarnating, like, what are we working towards?
That's a really good question, and both Kemetic spirituality and a Law of One, they actually address this. So in Kemetic spirituality, there's this concept of Hetep, which is often translated as peace or contentment.
Okay.
It's this state of inner harmony that comes from aligning yourself with Ma'at.
So it's not just, like, about chilling out and relaxing.
No, it's more than just the absence of conflict.
Right.
It's really this positive state of being, this feeling of wholeness and well-being that comes from living in accordance with those universal principles.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But how do you actually achieve that state of Hetep?
Well, one source describes it as being dispassionate yet in touch.
Dispassionate yet in touch. Okay.
It's about detaching from worldly desires
Okay.
while still fully engaging in life.
Interesting. And that actually ties back into the law of one.
Right.
And its emphasis on finding this balance between serving others and serving yourself.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, that's deep.
It is.
It seems like both systems are kind of pointing us towards this life of purpose and meaning, but also one that's grounded in this inner peace and harmony.
I think so.
Starting to see how these two seemingly very different philosophies actually really do complement each other.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so this is amazing. But before we wrap up this part, there's one more concept that keeps coming up in both the Kemetic and Law of One material that I want to talk about. Thoth.
Oh, Thoth. Yeah.
Who is this Thoth character, and why does he seem to be so important in both systems?
He is fascinating, and his role, I think, in both of these systems is definitely worth exploring a little further. So he's often depicted as this man with the head of an ibis, which is this bird associated with wisdom and knowledge.
Okay.
And in Kemetic spirituality, he's considered the god of writing, language, magic, and the moon.
Wow.
And he's seen as this guide for those seeking knowledge and understanding.
So like the ultimate librarian, the keeper of all this ancient wisdom.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Okay, but the Law of One also mentions Thoth.
It does, but in a slightly different context.
Oh, so
So according to Ra, Thoth was one of the first beings to incarnate on Earth.
Wow.
And he brought with him knowledge and teachings from other realms.
Okay.
And he's seen as this bridge between, you know, the human and the divine.
Interesting.
A source of wisdom and guidance for those looking to evolve.
So it's like he's this key figure in the evolution of human consciousness.
Totally.
He plays a part in both the ancient Egyptian and the Law of One stories.
Exactly.
That's incredible. One of the sources even links Thoth with the concept of Shedi.
Oh, Shedi, yeah.
It's the Egyptian word for to save or to rescue.
Yeah, so what could that mean for Thoth's role, do you think?
It's like maybe his job is to guide souls toward this liberation.
Right.
Towards this higher understanding of themselves and the universe.
I think so.
That's powerful.
It is.
It's like he's this cosmic teacher helping us to remember who we truly are and to find our way back to the source.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Right.
I think it speaks to that deeper message of both Kemetic spirituality and the Law of One. That we all have the potential for spiritual growth, for liberation, and that we're not alone on this journey.
Okay, this is all so much to take in, but it's really inspiring.
It is.
Before we move on, I'm curious about the specific practices or rituals that are associated with Kemetic spirituality.
Yeah.
Are there any that stand out in terms of like connecting with the divine or accessing these higher states of consciousness?
Yeah, there are actually many, but one that comes to mind is Sema Tawi, which means union with the gods.
Seapaut. Okay, that sounds pretty intense. What does it involve?
So in ancient Egypt, it involved all kinds of practices like temple rituals, offerings to the Neteru, and the use of sacred symbols and imagery.
So it was a way for the ancient Egyptians to connect with the divine, to really experience their spirituality.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And what's really interesting is that one of your sources, it connects Seapaut with the Kemetic yoga postures that we talked about earlier.
Oh, really? So those yoga postures weren't just about like physical well-being.
Right.
They're also about this spiritual connection.
Yeah, it seems like they were used to harmonize the body's energies.
Okay.
And to help facilitate a connection with the divine.
Interesting, and that aligns really well with the Law of One's emphasis on balancing and aligning our energy centers, our chakras.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so it all speaks to the depth and sophistication of Kemetic spirituality, you know? It was the system that really integrated spiritual principles into every aspect of life.
That's incredible. Okay, this is all so fascinating.
It is.
But before we wrap up this part, there's one more concept that I want to explore, which is Ricket.
Oh, Rika. Yeah.
It's a term that keeps popping up.
Yeah.
But I'm not really sure what it means.
It's a wonderful concept, and it really gets to the heart of the spiritual journey, I think. So it refers to the spiritual aspirant.
Okay.
The individual who's on this path of seeking and self-transformation.
So like a spiritual seeker, someone who's committed to, personal growth and evolution.
Exactly.
Okay.
The Rekit is someone who's dedicated to embodying those principles of Mot.
Okay.
Living a life of truth, justice, and cosmic harmony.
That sounds like a challenging path, but also an incredibly rewarding one.
It is.
What qualities does a Rekit need to have, like to actually succeed on this journey?
Well, according to your sources, a Rekit needs to have a strong desire for spiritual growth.
Okay.
A positive frame of mind.
Okay.
And a willingness to surrender to the divine will.
Those sound like really essential qualities for anyone who's seeking spiritual enlightenment.
Yeah, definitely.
It's about having the right attitude, the right intention, and the right level of trust in the process.
Totally. And I think that both Kemetic spirituality and the Law of One, they really emphasize these qualities.
Yeah.
They both invite us to embark on this journey of self-discovery and transformation to become more conscious and compassionate beings.
This is all so inspiring, but before we wrap up this part, there's one more concept that I'd like to explore, which is free will.
Oh, free will? Yeah.
Both Kemetic spirituality and the Law of One, they seem to emphasize this importance of choice.
Yeah.
But how does that fit in with this idea of like aligning with the divine will, with this cosmic order?
That is a great question, and it gets to like the heart of this spiritual paradox.
Right.
How do we balance our own individual will with the will of the divine?
It does seem like a contradiction.
Yeah.
Like if we're supposed to surrender to a higher power, how can we still have free will?
Well, both systems, they actually view free will as this sacred gift.
Yeah.
This essential part of our evolution as spiritual beings.
Okay.
And the Law of One even describes free will as the first distortion of the one infinite creator.
Whoa.
So it's woven into like the very fabric of creation.
So free will is not an obstacle to spiritual growth, but it's a necessary part of it.
Exactly. Exactly. It's through exercising our free will that we learn and grow.
Hmm.
We make choices, we experience the consequences of those choices, and then we refine our understanding of ourselves and the universe.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
But if we have free will, doesn't that mean that we're constantly creating karma, both good and bad?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Both Kemetic spirituality and the Law of One, they acknowledge the concept of karma and dharma.
Okay.
So our actions create karmic patterns.
Okay.
And our dharma is to learn from those patterns and evolve towards greater wisdom and compassion.
So it's like we're constantly weaving this tapestry of our lives thread by thread through the choices we make, the actions that we take, and those choices have consequences, both for ourselves and for others.
That's right.
And that highlights how important conscious choice is.
Yes.
We're not just like passive recipients of fate.
Right.
We're active participants in creating our reality.
Totally. Totally.
That's incredibly empowering.
It is.
It means that we have the power to change our lives, to create a better future for ourselves and for the world.
Absolutely. And it brings us to another crucial part of Kemetic spirituality, which is the Seapaut.
Seapaut, what's that?
So Seapaut refers to the spiritual teachings, the wisdom that's been passed down through generations. It's the body of knowledge that guides the spiritual seeker on their path.
So like it's a spiritual roadmap, like a guidebook for navigating the challenges of life and evolving towards our highest potential.
Exactly, exactly.
And one of the sources describes Seapaut as containing instructions for living in harmony with Mat, for cultivating virtue and aligning ourselves with that cosmic order.
Yeah, it's like we have access to the wisdom of those who've gone before us, who've walked this path and learned from their experiences.
That's incredibly valuable.
It is.
It's like having access to all of this wisdom that can guide us and support us.
It's a reminder that we're not alone on our spiritual journeys.
Right.
We have this ancient wisdom that can help us along the way.
Okay, so this is all fascinating.
It is.
But before we wrap up this part, I'm curious about the Kemetic understanding of the afterlife.
Okay.
We've talked about the Duat as this place of purification and transformation.
Right.
But what about like the ultimate destination?
Yeah.
Is there a concept of paradise in Kemetic spirituality?
There is.
Okay.
And it's called Aaru.
Aaru, okay.
Which is often described as the field of reeds.
Field of reeds. Okay, that sounds beautiful. What is it like, and how do you get there?
Well, Aaru is described as this realm of paradise, a place of peace and bliss that souls can attain after death. Okay. But it's not necessarily a physical location. Okay. It's more of a state of consciousness.
Okay.
This realm of spiritual fulfillment that's achieved through living a life in accordance with Ma'at.
So it's not about going to a specific place, but about achieving a certain level of spiritual development.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, and one of the sources describes Aaru as a place where the blessed dwell in the presence of Osiris, the god of the underworld and rebirth. So
yeah.
Aaru is like a symbol of this ultimate goal of spiritual seeking, the realization of our true nature as divine beings.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Right.
And it connects to this idea of the that we talked about earlier, which is, this transfigured soul that's achieved a higher level of consciousness.
Right.
So Aaru is like the culmination of that journey.
Okay, this is all so mind-blowing.
It is.
It really makes you think about the possibilities that exist beyond our physical reality.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this part, there's one concept that I'm kind of struggling with, which is Isfet.
Oh, Isfet.
It seems to be like the opposite of Mat.
Yeah.
But I'm not really sure what it represents or how it fits into this whole system.
It's a powerful concept, and it's essential for understanding how duality works in Kemetic spirituality. So it's often translated as chaos or disorder.
Okay.
And it represents the opposite of Mat.
So like the force of disruption, the antithesis of balance and harmony.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
It's that force of imbalance, that disharmony that opposes, cosmic order.
right, right.
And one of your sources describes Isfet as arising from actions that violate the principles of Maat.
Okay.
So things like selfishness, greed, and the pursuit of power at the expense of others.
So when we act out of alignment with those universal principles, we create chaos and suffering, both for ourselves and for others.
Exactly,
Oh,
exactly. The
yeah.
concept of Isfet isn't really meant to instill fear,
Okay.
but to encourage us to be mindful of our actions.
Well,
It highlights how important it is to align ourselves with Ma'at, to choose actions that promote harmony and balance.
that's a powerful reminder. It's
Yeah.
like we're all participating in this cosmic dance, and our choices can either contribute to the harmony or they
Yes.
can disrupt the flow.
Exactly.
And it brings us back to that idea of free will, of the importance of making conscious choices, right?
Right.
We're not just puppets in this cosmic play.
Right.
We're co-creators of our reality.
Totally.
Okay, this is all so much to take in, but it's incredibly empowering.
And it is.
It's like we're being given a glimpse behind the curtain, a chance to understand the forces that shape our lives
Hmm.
and the choices that we can make to create a better world.
Absolutely. And it leads us to another really profound concept in Kemetic spirituality,
Yeah.
Neter.
Neter. Okay, that sounds familiar. Is that related to Neteru, like the gods and goddesses we were talking about earlier?
It is, but
Yeah.
Neter is a much, much broader term.
Okay.
It's often translated as God or divine power, but it's much, much deeper than that.
Okay.
It refers to the underlying principle of creation,
Okay.
the animating force that's in everything.
So it's not a specific being, but it's this all-encompassing force, like the source of everything.
Exactly.
Oh.
And one of your sources actually explains that Neter is not this separate entity,
Okay.
but it's this immanent force that's present within every single aspect of creation.
So that actually sounds a lot like the law of one's description of the one infinite creator.
Doesn't it?
It's like both systems are pointing us to this ultimate source of all things.
Exactly. And that realization, I think, is key to understanding our place in the universe. It reminds us that we're not separate from the divine, we're expressions of nature.
Okay.
And that divine power is within each and every one of us.
That's an incredibly empowering thought.
It is.
It's like we all have this spark of divinity within us just waiting to be recognized and cultivated.
Totally, totally.
Okay, so this is amazing. But before we wrap up this part, there's another aspect of Kemetic spirituality that I want to touch on.
The Ba.
Oh, the Ba.
Yeah,
We've talked about the Ka as like the spiritual double, the higher self.
right.
But what is the Ba?
So the Ba is often described as the soul, the part of us that survives physical death.
Okay.
And it's associated with our personality, our individual consciousness, and our experiences.
So it's like the essence of who we are,
Yeah.
the part of us that continues on after our physical body dies.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, and what's interesting is that the Ba is often depicted as this bird with a human head.
Yeah, it's a very striking image.
What's the symbolism behind that?
Well, it symbolizes the Ba's ability to travel between the earthly and spiritual realms.
Okay.
So it can soar to the heavens, but it can also return to Earth.
That's beautiful.
It is.
So the Ba was like our link to the eternal,
Right.
the part of us that transcends these limitations of time and space.
So what happens to the Ba after death?
Yeah, like we've talked about the Duat as this place of purification and transformation,
Right.
but where does the Ba go after that?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And the Kemetic understanding of the afterlife is really complex and multifaceted. But one of the most intriguing concepts is the Ak.
Yeah, we touched on that briefly earlier, but
Yes.
I'm still not entirely sure what it represents.
So the Ak is often described as the transfigured soul, this spiritual being that's achieved a higher level of consciousness.
So like it's the culmination of our spiritual journey.
Yeah.
The realization of our divine potential.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, and one of the sources explains that the Ak is achieved through this process of spiritual development.
Right.
through aligning ourselves with Ma'at and overcoming the challenges of the Duat.
Yeah.
So it's a state of being that transcends the limitations of our earthly existence.
Mm,
It's like a merging with the divine.
I think so.
That's incredible. It's like we're all working towards becoming these radiant beings of light,
Yeah.
embodying these highest qualities of consciousness and compassion.
That's a beautiful, beautiful way to put it.
And it brings us to a specific Neteru who embodies the concept of the Ak, which is Heru, also known as Horus.
Oh, Horus.
I remember him.
Core, yeah, yeah.
He was the son of Osiris and Isis, the one who battled his uncle Set for the throne of Egypt.
Right, and he's often depicted as this falcon, or a man with the head of a falcon,
Right.
symbolizing his connection to the heavens and his ability to soar above earthly limitations.
Okay.
He's considered the god of kingship, victory, and protection. So he represents that triumph of light over darkness.
His story sounds like a really powerful metaphor for the spiritual journey.
It is.
Yeah.
Heru's birth after his father's murder kind of represents that potential for rebirth and renewal,
Right.
even in the face of loss and adversity.
Okay.
And his battle with Set, symbolizes that inner struggle
Yeah.
between our higher and lower selves.
Right.
The challenges that we all face on the path to spiritual growth.
So Heru's eventual victory over Set, that signifies the triumph of good over evil,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
realization of our divine potential.
Exactly. Heru is like this archetype for the Ak, for the transfigured. He embodies those qualities of strength, courage, and spiritual mastery that we can aspire to develop within ourselves.
This is all so inspiring.
It is.
It's like we're all capable of becoming these powerful beings of light,
Yeah,
overcoming our limitations and embodying our highest potential.
totally.
Okay, so this brings us back to that really crucial theme of balance
Right.
that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Both Kemetic spirituality and the law of one, they really emphasize finding that equilibrium.
Yeah, in all aspects of our lives.
Right, we talked about that in relation to the Duat and the seven planes.
Right.
But how else does this concept of balance play out in both systems?
Well, the law of one describes the universe as this dance of polarities.
Okay.
This constant interplay between light and darkness,
Okay.
positive and negative.
Okay.
And our job, so to speak, is to find that center point between those polarities,
Right.
to avoid those extremes and to really embrace the fullness of experience.
Okay. And how does Kemetic spirituality address this concept of balance?
Well, it emphasizes the concept of ma'at,
Right, of course.
which we've been talking about a lot.
Yeah, Ma'at, that represents balance, truth, justice,
Yeah.
cosmic order, all of that.
It's about aligning ourselves with that natural order of the universe,
Okay.
living in harmony with those rhythms of creation.
So like finding that middle path.
Yeah.
That sweet spot where we're not swayed by extremes, but
right.
we're rooted in this centered awareness.
Exactly. And it's not about being passive or indecisive.
Right.
It's about finding that strength and wisdom to navigate those challenges of life without getting swept away by those tides of duality.
That makes sense. Like we're all tightrope walkers.
Yeah.
Balancing between these opposing forces.
Right. Striving to stay centered and grounded.
Okay. And that pursuit of balance, it's ongoing. It's a process.
Right.
It requires self-awareness, discernment, and a willingness to adjust our course as needed.
It sounds like a lifelong journey.
It
This
is.
constant dance between those opposing forces
Right.
within us and around us.
But how do we actually cultivate that sense of balance in our everyday lives?
Yeah. Are there practices that can help?
There are many, but one that really stands out is meditation.
Okay.
Both Kemetic spirituality and the law of one, they emphasize how important meditation is
Yeah.
as a tool for spiritual development.
That makes sense. Meditation is all about turning inward,
Right.
quieting the mind and connecting with our inner selves.
Exactly.
It seems like a really natural way to cultivate that balance and that inner peace.
Totally. And one of your sources actually describes meditation as a way to create a higher awareness,
Okay.
which affects all aspects of one's life.
Interesting.
It's about accessing a deeper level of consciousness,
Okay.
a realm of peace and clarity
Right.
that can inform our thoughts, our words, and our actions.
That sounds amazing.
It is.
It's like meditation allows us to tap into this still point within ourselves, that place of peace and balance,
Yeah.
where we can access our true wisdom and our guidance.
Exactly. And meditation isn't about, escaping from reality,
Yeah.
but about getting a clearer perspective on it.
Oh,
It's about finding that stillness within that helps us to see things more clearly and to make choices that are in line with our highest purpose.
Okay, this is also inspiring.
It is.
It's like we're being given these tools to navigate the complexities of life
Right.
and to cultivate our spiritual potential.
Absolutely. And both Kemetic spirituality and the Law of One, they offer this wealth of wisdom and practices.
That can really support us on our journeys.
Okay, this is all so much to take in, but I'm feeling really energized and inspired by all of this.
That's great.
Before we wrap up, there's one concept that I'm curious about, which is Ren.
Oh, Ren.
I've come across it in the Kemetic material,
Yeah.
but I'm not entirely sure what it means.
Ren is a fascinating concept.
Okay.
It refers to like our true name,
Okay.
our spiritual essence, the core of our being.
So like the truest version of ourselves.
Yeah.
The part of us that exists beyond the limitations of our personality and our ego.
Exactly. And one of your sources explains that knowing our Ren is essential for spiritual growth.
Okay.
It's about recognizing our true nature as spiritual beings beyond those confines of our physical form and our ego identities.
That sounds like a really powerful process.
It is.
How do we discover our Ren? Is it something that's like revealed to us? Or is it something that we uncover through self-exploration?
Discovering our Ren is a process of self-discovery.
Okay.
It's about stripping away all of those layers of conditioning and
Yes.
beliefs that obscure our true selves.
Hmm.
It's like peeling back the layers of the onion, so to speak, until we reach that core of our being.
That sounds like a challenging but rewarding journey.
It is.
It's like we're all on this quest to remember who we truly are.
Yeah.
To reconnect with that divine spark within.
And it brings us back to that idea of self-knowledge that we talked about earlier.
Right. We talked about self-knowledge in relation to the law of confusion and the need for discernment.
Yeah.
But how else does this concept of self-knowledge play out in both systems?
Well, Kemetic spirituality, it emphasizes self-knowledge through the concept of Mat.
Of course, Mott.
Which we've been talking about so much.
Yeah, that's all about truth, justice, balance, and cosmic order.
But how does that relate to self-knowledge, you might ask?
Yeah.
Well, living in accordance with Mat involves, being truthful with ourselves, acknowledging our shortcomings, and striving to improve ourselves. It's about honesty, both with ourselves and with others.
So self-knowledge is kind of like a prerequisite for living a life of integrity and alignment.
I think so.
Right.
We can't live in harmony with the universe if we're not honest with ourselves about who we are, both the light and the shadow aspects of our being.
That makes sense. It's like we can't build a solid foundation on shaky ground.
Right.
We need to know ourselves, both our strengths and our weaknesses.
To create a life that's truly aligned with our purpose.
Exactly.
And this pursuit of self-knowledge, it's not like a destination.
Okay.
But it's a journey. It's an ongoing process of exploration and discovery.
Right.
Peeling away those layers of conditioning and beliefs that cloud our true selves.
So we're all works in progress.
Yeah.
Constantly evolving and becoming more aligned with our true nature.
But that journey of self-discovery can be challenging.
Yeah, it can.
It can involve facing those uncomfortable truths about ourselves, confronting our shadows and acknowledging our limitations.
But you're saying that those challenges are necessary for growth.
But totally.
That it's through facing our shadows that we become more whole.
I think so.
Right.
It's through those challenges that we grow.
Okay.
We develop greater self-awareness, compassion, and and wisdom. And it helps us to make choices that are aligned with our highest purpose and to live more authentic and fulfilling lives.
That's an encouraging thought.
It is.
Like we're being given this opportunity to transform ourselves.
Yeah.
To become the best versions of ourselves.
Absolutely.
But are there specific practices that can support us on this journey of self-discovery?
Absolutely. And one practice that's incredibly powerful is journaling.
Journaling. How can something as simple as writing in a journal help us to know ourselves better?
Well, journaling is this powerful tool for self-reflection,
Okay.
for processing our thoughts and emotions,
Yeah.
and for getting insights into our patterns and motivations. It's about creating this space for honest self-expression, a
Okay.
place where we can explore our inner world without judgment or censorship.
So it's like having a conversation with ourselves, a way to process our experiences and make sense of our inner world.
Exactly.
Right.
And through that process of self-reflection,
Yeah.
we can start to see our patterns more clearly,
That
to identify our limiting beliefs and those areas where we need to grow.
that's incredible.
It is.
It's like journaling. It gives us this mirror to see ourselves more clearly, to understand our strengths and weaknesses, and to figure out where we need to focus our attention.
Exactly. And it can also help us to connect with our inner wisdom,
Sure.
to hear that voice of our intuition,
Right.
and to get some clarity about our purpose and our path.
That sounds incredibly valuable.
It is.
It's like journaling is this tool for unlocking our inner potential.
Yeah.
For discovering the wisdom that lies within.
Exactly. And it's a practice that can benefit anyone, regardless of, their spiritual beliefs or practices.
Okay, this is all so inspiring.
It is.
I'm starting to see how these different concepts and practices from both Kemetic spirituality and the law of one,
Yeah.
they can really support us on our journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth.
Totally. And there's still so much more to explore. But before we wrap up, I'd like to touch on this symbol that has like profound meaning
Go ahead.
in Kemetic spirituality.
The Ankh.
Okay.
The Ankh, yeah, I've seen that symbol before. It's like a cross with a loop at the top.
That's right.
Okay, what is the deeper meaning behind it? What does it represent in Kemetic spirituality?
Well, one of your sources describes the Ankh as this symbol of Neter,
Okay.
that divine power that permeates all of creation.
Right,
It's
right.
this reminder that we're all connected to the source of life, that we're
Yeah.
all expressions of the divine.
So the Ankh represents that spark of divinity that we all carry within.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's also associated with the concept of Mot.
Right. Mot, truth, justice, balance, cosmic order, all of that.
Right.
But how does the Ankh relate to those concepts?
It suggests that living in accordance with Ma'at, aligning ourselves with those universal principles, leads to eternal life.
Okay.
Not in a literal sense,
Right.
but in a spiritual sense.
So it's about achieving this state of harmony and balance that allows our soul to flourish,
Yeah.
to connect with that eternal aspect of ourselves.
Exactly.
Oh.
It's about aligning ourselves with those principles that govern creation.
Okay.
Embracing this path of righteousness
Wow.
that leads to spiritual fulfillment and lasting joy.
That's a really beautiful concept.
It is.
It's like the Ankh is this reminder to live a life of purpose and meaning.
Yeah.
A life that's aligned with our highest values and aspirations.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And it brings us to a specific Neteru who embodies this concept of the Ankh.
Oh,
Bah.
quick, who's that?
So Ptah is often depicted as this mummified figure holding a staff that combines these symbols of the Wa scepter, the Jed pillar, and of course the Ankh.
Okay.
And he's considered the god of creation, craftsmanship, and fertility.
So he represents the power of manifestation.
Yeah.
Like the creative force that brings all things into being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of your sources actually describes Ptah as the divine architect who conceived the universe in his heart
Okay.
and brought it into manifestation through the power of his word.
That's incredible. It's like he represents the power of thought and intention,
Yeah.
the ability to shape our reality through our
Yeah.
beliefs and our actions.
Exactly, exactly. And his presence in Kemetic spirituality is this reminder that
Yeah.
we're all co-creators of our reality. We have the power to shape our lives and the world around us through our thoughts, our words, and our actions.
That's incredibly empowering.
It
It's
is.
like we're being given these tools to design our own destinies,
Yeah.
to create a life that's in line with our deepest desires and aspirations.
Totally. And it brings us to another intriguing symbol
Yes,
from
so.
Kemetic spirituality,
Mhm.
the Jed pillar.
The Jed
Yeah.
pillar. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one. What does it represent?
So the Jed pillar is often depicted as this column with four horizontal bars,
Okay.
and it symbolizes stability, strength, and resurrection.
Resurrection. That's interesting. What's the connection there?
So it's a symbol of the backbone of Osiris,
Okay.
the god of the underworld and rebirth,
Right.
representing that enduring nature of the spirit.
Right. Osiris, the one who was murdered by his brother Set,
Yeah.
but then was brought back to life by his wife Isis.
Right, and one of your sources explains that the Jed pillar was often used in rituals that were associated with Osiris, symbolizing his resurrection and that triumph of life over death.
So it's a reminder that even when we're facing, challenges, adversity, that the spirit endures.
Yeah.
That we have the capacity to rise above our limitations,
Yeah.
to overcome obstacles, and to experience renewal and transformation.
Exactly, exactly. The Jed pillar is the symbol of resilience,
No.
of that indomitable spirit that's inside each of us. It inspires us to stand tall,
Yeah.
to face our fears and to persevere on our spiritual journey.
That's a really powerful image.
It is.
It's like the Jed pillars, this reminder that we're stronger than we think,
Yeah.
that we have those inner resources to overcome any challenge that life throws our way.
Absolutely. And it brings us to another Neteru who embodies these qualities. with
Okay,
the-
Set. Wait, isn't he the one who murdered Osiris?
Yes, he is. Set is often depicted as this creature with the head of an unknown animal,
Okay.
and he represents chaos, disorder, and the forces of nature.
Right.
He's a complex figure who's
Yeah.
often seen as the antagonist in Egyptian mythology.
So he represents like the challenges and the obstacles that we face on our spiritual path.
Yeah, I think so. And
Right.
and one of your sources describes Set as the brother of Osiris,
Okay.
who murdered him out of jealousy and ambition.
That's a pretty intense story.
It is.
What's the spiritual significance behind that story?
Well, it's a metaphor for that inner struggle between our higher and our lower selves.
Yeah.
That conflict between our desire for spiritual growth
Yeah.
and those temptations of the ego.
So Set represents that part of us that wants to stay stuck in those old patterns.
Yeah.
That resists change and growth.
Exactly. And his presence in Kemetic spirituality is this reminder that challenges are an inevitable part of life. It's through facing our fears,
No.
overcoming adversity, and integrating those shadow aspects of ourselves
Yeah.
that we truly grow.
That's a powerful reminder.
It is.
It's like we need those challenges to push us beyond our comfort zones,
Yeah.
to help us discover our inner strength and resilience.
Exactly. And it brings us back to a theme that's been woven throughout this whole deep dive.
Okay.
The importance of love.
Love, yeah, that seems like a fitting concept to explore as we kind of wrap up this incredible journey.
It does.
So how do Kemetic spirituality and the law of one, how do they approach this concept of love?
Both systems emphasize that love is the ultimate force in the universe,
Okay.
the foundation of all creation. It's not just this fleeting emotion,
Right.
but it's a state of being. It's a way of relating to ourselves, to others, and to the world.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
So love is the glue that holds everything together.
Yeah.
The energy that connects us all.
Right, and the law of one actually describes love as the original thought of the creator.
Yes.
Like the impulse that brought all things into being.
So love is the very essence of creation. That energy that sparked the universe into existence.
Yeah, and it's the force that connects us all, that binds us together in this web of interconnectedness.
Beautifully said. And Kemetic spirituality, it also emphasizes the importance of love, particularly through that concept of Ma.
Right, Ma, of course.
Which we've been talking about so much.
Truth, justice, balance, cosmic order.
But how does love fit into that framework, you might ask?
Yeah.
Well, living in accordance with Ma involves cultivating compassion, empathy, and kindness towards all beings.
So it's about recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every individual.
Totally.
Regardless of their background, their beliefs, their actions.
It's about extending that love and compassion to ourselves, to our loved ones, to our communities, and to the world at large.
That's a beautiful vision.
It is.
But the practice of love isn't always easy, is it?
It's not. It's not.
Right.
It can involve forgiveness, understanding, and a willingness to extend ourselves beyond our comfort zones.
Right.
It can challenge us to confront our own shadows and to embrace those who are different from us.
But you're saying that it's through those challenges, through those acts of love and forgiveness that we truly grow and evolve.
I think so.
Right.
It's through the practice of love that we transcend our egoic limitations. We connect with our true selves.
Right.
And we contribute to a more harmonious and compassionate world.
Right. It's the path to true spiritual fulfillment.
Exactly.
That's incredibly inspiring.
It is.
It's like we're all being called to step into this higher expression of ourselves.
Yeah.
To become these beacons of love and light in the world.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it brings us to a Netaru who embodies this concept of unconditional love.
Okay.
Isis,
yeah, we've talked about her throughout this whole deep dive.
Right.
She's the wife of Osiris.
Yeah.
The mother of Horus.
A powerful force for good in Egyptian mythology.
Right, and she's also associated with that incredible love and devotion that she showed to her husband Osiris even after his death.
Exactly. And one of your sources describes Isis as the embodiment of unconditional love, the mother who grieves for her lost husband, protects her son and uses her magic to heal and restore.
So she represents the power of love to overcome adversity. To heal wounds and to bring about transformation.
Exactly. And her presence in Kemetic spirituality is this reminder that love is the most powerful force in the universe.
Right.
It can conquer fear. It can heal brokenness, and it can inspire us to live lives of purpose and meaning.
That's a beautiful reminder.
It is.
It's like Isis is this beacon of hope.
Yeah.
A symbol of the transformative power of love.
Absolutely. And I think her message is especially relevant today, as we're facing all these challenges and divisions in our world.
Right.
We need that reminder that love is the answer. That it's the force that can heal our wounds and bring us together.
This has been an incredible journey.
It has.
We've explored so much from the ancient wisdom of Kemetic spirituality to the profound insights of the law of one.
And it's amazing how these two systems, separated by thousands of years and such different cultural contexts, they come together.
I know.
On so many of these key principles.
We've explored this rich tapestry of concepts, from the nature of the divine to the intricacies of the human soul, from practical spiritual practices to these really profound metaphysical insights.
And it's clear that both Kemetic spirituality and the law of one, they offer this